No one's been able to give it to Mostafa. Okay, the court gave Brad Haywood, they gave him unlimited funds for a private investigator to look into the Mostafa Aljazari case. And Mostafa specifically requested from the private investigator to show him the communication of Dorothy. Okay, and what did he do? The moment you pressured Brad Haywood, the moment Mostafa pressured the private investigator, Sam, okay, they left the case. Brad Haywood immediately filed a motion to withdraw.
The minute I emailed him that Mostafa is demanding that you sit down with him and go over the cell phone dump.
That's right.
He withdrew. I mean, what's that?
I told Sam that Mostafa doesn't want anything from you. You as a private investigator, you're being given unlimited funds by the courts to help Mostafa in his case. And all Mostafa is requesting from you is to show him what's on Dorothy's communication, which is exculpatory information. Okay? And within a week, Brad Haywood sends you an email telling you that Sam no longer wants to be on the case.
Right. That's right.
What kind of private investigator no longer wants to be on the case, no longer wants money?
You know, I'll tell you something that's real interesting. I mean, you make a really good point. When the prosecutor says the case is sealed, I mean, you would assume that they're sealing the case because of witnesses in this case. Well, let's go through that real quick.
Exactly. Amar, and I'll just point out, Glenn Ford, Tanisha Coleman,
yeah,
Kylie, the children, I mean, their addresses are all over the public file. None of it is redacted. None of it is redacted, including the DC cop that was first on the scene. His address in Manassas, Virginia, it's public record. It's all of it is public.
Absolutely.
None of it is redacted.
So that's one thing. And if you remember NBC4, if you look up Mostafa Aljazari on the internet, you'll see that the NBC4 released a 4-second clip from Mustafa's dash camera with 5-year-old Empress in that. They didn't blur out the 5-year-old baby. They just released it. So you can't tell me you're protecting that there is a 5-year-old baby in this case. The prosecutor gave an edited version of the dash camera. They edited that dash camera and they've released 4-second. They wouldn't release the whole thing. They would release an edited version. But the point that I'm making is they've released 5-year-old Empress all over the news. So you can't tell me you're protecting the 5-year-old baby. You can't tell me you're protecting the witnesses. All the witnesses, like you said, if you go to Prince William County, you'll find all their information is public record now. So why is this case sealed? I mean, we circled back. And what
something is on that drive that the government is scared of.
And what are we waking up to all over the news is that the FBI has been watching the hotel off of. All right, so let's look at what they're doing in Mostafa's case. If you were to take Dorothy's cell phone and have it released into Mostafa, into the case, obviously is going to compromise whatever operation they have going on for years with the FBI. The FBI has been watching the hotel. Dorothy was prostituting in the hotel before she met Mostafa. When Mostafa met Dorothy, that's what Dorothy was doing. And every piece of information tell you that, hey, Dorothy was working with the police.
Amar, even her ex-husband says she used to get pulled over. She doesn't even have a license, by the way.
Exactly.
She doesn't have a driver's license. He says she would drive around, get pulled over, and nothing would happen to her. He's shocked. Her ex-husband. Okay? And you look at her identification that the police had from the car accident, it specifically says she only has a state ID. She has no license. Okay? So how can a person be driving for years without a driver's license, without a ticket? Okay? And you have a car, you have kids that are not going to school, and the police say nothing about it. The whole thing is just odd.
She's walking around with 3 cell phones, living in and out of hotel, living out of her van with 3 cell phones with children that are not even going to school. And the police are not even touching it. They're pretending. I mean, obviously, she's part of whatever they got going on in that hotel. I mean, if I was, I'll tell you, I was saying that earlier. If I was the police, if I was the FBI, I mean, I'm going to need to rely on individuals that go in and pretend that they're a prostitute and pretend that they're selling drugs. I mean, how else would I conduct my operation? Obviously, I'm going to use someone, a Dorothy, a Kylie, an individual that, I mean, how else am I conducting an operation? How do I know what's going on the inside? I want to read the transcript that's coming out of the hard drive. And the previous attorney, the prosecutor gave that lawyer the hard drive, the cell phone dump. Let's see. I want to read what the lawyer is talking about and what he did with the hard drive. So let's see. There we go. This is at the time Blake Weiner. Blake Weiner is talking about that the prosecutor gave him Mostafa and Dorothy's cell phone dump and what he did with the hard drive. And you tell me if this makes any kind of sense. And by the way, Mostafa was scheduled to go to trial, I think within the next 2 weeks. And that makes it a little bit more disturbing that you have 1,000 terabyte of hard drive, and the defense attorney is talking about, I gave it to the other lawyer that's on the case. I didn't want to go through it. What are you talking about? You have trial in 2 weeks, and you've been sitting on this case for a whole entire year. And now you're talking about that you didn't go through the hard drive. Let's hear what he's talking about. So on this transcript, this is November 20, 2024. This is what. All right. So in addition to all the evidence on evidence.com, there is approximately 700 pages of physical PDF pages. Things like that, like police report, witness statement, that also in discovery on top of that it is, we would call, I guess, for the purpose of this motion, the phone dump hard drive. Okay? All right. Okay. What the phone dump hard drive is, and the Commonwealth may have more specific about this because I haven't looked at it yet. That is basically the data extraction from multiple cell phone of the individual, in this case, who have passed, as well as, I believe, like a third family phone. There might even be a fourth phone, but it's multiple cell phone, as well as, I believe, all the data. Also one of the cell phone for my client, and also the data extraction from the dash camera that was part of this case. In total, off the top of my head, I believe the data extraction, it was large enough that it needed at least a 1 terabyte hard drive for the Commonwealth to put the data in, which is not normal, by the way. They're supposed to upload it to the server, but they put it on a hard drive. Around the time I was aware of all the evidence, I believe it was a few months ago, I filed a motion for the investigator to assist review and discovery for this very reason. Because of all the shortly after, Ms. Jarvis, the lawyer that we saw, talk about being threatened by the police, and the police have raided her office and took that drive. Okay. Shortly thereafter, Miss Jarvis came into this case, entered an appearance in this case, and told me and told my client, and we relied on it, I will help you in review and discovery. All right. And then he goes, okay, he says, because of that, at the motion hearing on October 31st, when we came to the court. All right, this is really interesting. So if you go through all of it, he's talking about Elaine never sent it back to him. Before that, I specifically sent an email to Ms. Jarvis. I said, can you help and look at this hard drive? Look at this phone dump. There's a lot of information on it. I don't have time right now. She said, yes, I'll FedEx it to her. There's a motion that we filed at some point with the specific data on it. I don't recall it off top of my head. I believe it was at least a month ago. To this point, never heard anything from Ms. Jarvis on her review of it. She now gone and not on this case. Okay, so she left the case. I don't even have the hard drive still. I just asked Ms. Jarvis and said, I'll FedEx it to you. They're playing hot potato with this drive. You're telling me a lawyer, Blake Weiner, sat on Mostafa's case for a whole entire year, didn't go through the hard drive of Mostafa and Dorothy's cell phone dump, On the last 2 weeks before trial, he tells Judge Weimer, well, Your Honor, I gave it to the other attorney that was on this case. She also never went through it. She was supposed to mail it back to me, but she didn't. Well, Elaine Jarvis is talking about Virginia State Police raided her office and took that drive. What's on that drive? What's on Dorothy's cell phone? That they're all terrified. No one wants to look at it. No one wants to go through it. I'll tell you what's on it. Is that once you go through it, you're going to find out whatever they got going on in Dumfries.